Good evening, San Bernardino. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I'm going to give this a minute as always for the stream to catch up. Let me double check everything's going on. I hope you guys are having a super safe and nice, like cozy evening. And the rain has just been amazing all day, cold to walk in, but nonetheless, we need it. So here we are. And okay. Look at us. We're live. Wonderful. So thank you guys for coming tonight. We're not going to be on super long, but great suggestion for those of you that told me to do this online because as you guys know, we had our forum Thursday night and it was really great. I just appreciate, I mean, the room was full. It was just an awesome experience and everybody was streaming online. You can still see it and share it. I highly suggest it. It was really good. And then afterwards, we were allowed to meet with the public and answer different questions. And then I had, more additional questions online. And so I kind of got repeat questions and I was telling a couple people the same thing and everyone was like, well, why don't you just live stream and kind of answer the main questions that you were asked for follow-ups? And I said, all right, well, let's do that. So here we are. And I just want to touch on the top topics. And then one I left off because I got asked about this a little bit ago. So I said, okay, I'm going to add it and we're going to talk about the animal shelter. So, okay. The number one question I was asked was about public safety and talking more about why I look at public safety as more than just policing. And so we're going to talk about that. Policing, in my mind, is one component of what keeps a community safe. And that's why I lead down the road that I do. Because firefighting is public safety. Not only do they put out fires, but they also provide, in some circumstances, medical EMS attention. That keeps the public safe. Having a robust park and rec, as some of you asked, why would I even think about park and rec along with public safety? Well, when you're investing into your community, and I want you to think about the investment part, don't get caught up on the labels. It's what are we doing that in return brings about a safe environment and a safe community. And so what we know is when the youth are being, kind of pushed aside or they have nothing to do, they like idle hands kind of is the discussion that they get into trouble, right? Nothing productive. That's why sports is so important. That's why academics and after schools and programming and park and recreation. This is a stance I take because at one time the city of Long Beach was going through a lot of high crime issues. And what the city decided was they were going to make a massive financial investment into their park and recreation department and all their programming. And now today, like you guys know how Lady Gutfeld has sent out the booklet with all the classes and everything. Man, the city of Long Beach, I mean, it's like getting an old phone book. There's so much to do. And because there's so much to do, there's a lot less idle time. And the city in itself has improved because of that type of investment, because you can go down and take your kids to the pool. You can take them to a beautiful park. They can get involved in park and recreation, either low cost, no cost, or, if you can afford it at cost. And there's something for everybody, revitalization of parks and walkways. That's what I believe that type of investment would create a more well-rounded idea of what public safety looks like. We can look at traffic, how we're handling, speeding, or how we're handling, the road conditions. All of that in itself is the larger scope. And so I thank you guys for asking for that clarification because yeah, it's for me just telling everybody we just, we do definitely need to build the capacity of the police department to keep us safe, because there are 223,000 of us and currently only 200 and about, I think, 79 officers. That's not enough. That right there, that component of public safety, we are not able to take care of the actual, I would look at that as more the physical safety of the environment than anything else. So I hope that makes sense. And that's a really, really great question. I left this out of my topics, but we had someone asked about my comment that the chief of police is not our savior. And I can't express that enough. In the forum, one of the candidates was really like, give it all to the chief, and the chief will take care of this, and the chief will take care of that. That for me, as a council person for the 7th Ward, is a big no-no. That relying or believing that one person is going to take care of all of the ills is already setting ourselves up for failure and setting up that person for the failure. The chief is a part and leads a head of a department, just like Park and Recreation, just like Public Works, Community and Economic Development, Human Resources, Finance. That they're all, when you look at the organizational chart, they're all equitable across the board. And truly and honestly, again, this just speaks to my viewpoint on public safety, is that is one mechanism. And so is Chief doing the most awesome, amazing job? Yeah, absolutely. Are his officers like killing it on the streets and just bringing us to a point where, we are able to catch our breath as far as what's been going on in our city? Yes. But is he going to be able to fix everything? No. And let's not do that. Let's not do that to him or anybody else, because it's going to take the collaboration of the city as a whole. And so that's what I mean by it. I don't believe any one person can save anybody. And that's what's interesting is, though, and to a great point today, is that's kind of been the mentality of some of the previously elected officials, is that they were the savior and everything that they did was great and everything, they took care of everything, but nothing bad was ever their fault. That's not even possible. So that's my point. I appreciate what Chief does, and as far as policing is concerned, that's my go-to. But not every ill in this community can be solved through him. Okay, and then, please feel free to definitely ask your questions. I think it's great. And like I said, not long. I just want to cover the big stuff. So another question at the end of this is in the meeting was about not getting the Police Officers Association's endorsement. And I did state, they did not, and I asked Damon, they didn't come to him and ask for an interview, and they did not reach out to me for an interview. They decided on November 28th to go to Jim Penman and pocket endorse him so that he would jump into the race at the last minute. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I can't speak to why they don't want to talk to Damon as far as an endorsement. I'm not going to, assume anything on their part. But I do want us to talk about why I believe, although, I wonder sometimes, but why they wouldn't come to me. As you guys know, because it's literally public record and I've recorded almost everything I've said, I've had a very contentious relationship with the police officers union, not the police department, but about a group of, I would say, I think like 5 or 6 guys in particular that are on the board. And this is the old board. I'm not going to speak to the new board because they have a new president. They have some new people. There's a couple leftovers, but for the majority, the new board is different, but we'll talk about that. I call things out, and I do not cheerlead. It's just not who I am. What I think is going great, and this is me personally as a resident, because that's what I am. This is This is my viewpoint on how I see things. A lot of it, 99.9% of it, based off of public records, based off of watching people maneuver, watching where money's coming from. That's how I make my declarations on what I say. Well, with that, there's opposition. And really where the opposition began was when I ran for the third ward and I met with the POA. I thought, wow, this is amazing. And they were very nice and very kind. And I got a call from an officer and they said, hey, look, I need to be honest with you. I don't know if you know what's going on, but the board has called Juan in. They've made a deal with Valdivia and they're going to go in that direction. And I was like, wow, okay. I mean, I didn't know. I just be honest, I didn't know really how the politics worked in the city, but I found out very quickly. And knowing what Valdivia did and what the deals were being made behind the scenes, and watching horrible leadership, in my opinion, absolutely horrible leadership out of the administration of the police department, which was hurting our city. You guys know I was vocal. I'm very vocal and very critical. When the prior chief of police was running for office in Big Bear while our city's burning, I'm not a fan. Very much not a fan. And when we were trying to get a recruitment for a chief of police, and they went out and endorsed McBride, and I opposed it, not popular. And that's okay, because look, here's what I want you guys to understand. They're doing what they believe is in their best interest. That's what it's about, right? I'm a union member. I want my people to go and fight for me in what they believe is in their best interest, in my best interest, in their best interest. But I don't agree all 100% of the time with the maneuvering of my board. And I think that's where we are, is that, we've clashed. It's human nature. We clash on where we stand on certain things. But at the end of the day, I support our police department. I support the men and women that go into our streets. And I don't put that in a political sense, because those are people I worked with closely for years at City Hall. And I'm going to tell you guys something. We have just the most fabulous officers, just amazing human beings. And this is where I think we get a little mixed up, is during Eric McBride's reign and David Green's, one of my catchphrases that you guys used to hear is, you don't live here, so you don't care. And certain people, again, in the administration, took that to their officers and said, Treasurer Ortiz doesn't think you don't care about the city because you don't live here. And that's never been true. What I've always said is that those who play politics with our lives don't care, because they don't have to live here and suffer the consequences. And I will always stand by that. It's easy to go home to beautiful gated communities or drive to Arizona on your days off and live in your second house. When we were suffering, and guys, we were suffering, but look where we are today. We're in a totally different position as far as public safety is. And do you know who one of the most staunch supporters has been of the police department for the last year? It's me. Because I support what's good. I support when I see something, when I'm watching how money is being spent, right? Every time the police department has come up and asked for something, I've never opposed it. You know why? Because these are good mechanisms. I didn't support the previous chief and assistant chief getting a raise, especially in the first year in 2019, you guys, when we were facing a $19 million deficit. And 6 months later, they were like, yeah, we need $25,000 raises apiece. Get out of here. But that's not going to sit well with them. But I saw the position that we were in. So right now, as far as you guys, the endorsements are concerned, don't worry. they are going to do what they believe is in the best interest of whatever candidate they feel is going to help them push their agenda. They're a union. It's what the mechanism of a union is. On this side, on my side, I'm going to keep supporting our chief. I'm going to keep supporting our police department, and we're going to find a way to make it work, because that's all that matters at the end of the day, is that our officers are happy and fulfilled in their duty, and we as a community can go out and enjoy and have a good quality of life. So that's what that endorsement is. And in general, in endorsements, it's about, do you believe in each other's mission? That's how I look at the endorsement process. Is here's who I am, and here's what I plan on doing. And if you want to get behind that, cool. And if you don't want to get behind that, I understand. And it's a take it or leave it, but this is politics. It really is. And there's a lot of personalities in politics. So don't worry about it. We all don't go against don't work like against the POA as far as how they, their decision on me or whatever. That's not, that's on them. That's on them they have every right to do what they got to do. And I got to do what I got to do. And so, which is just run for office and speak the truth on how I feel about what policing looks like. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. The homelessness plan. So I said a lot, and you guys are right. There is a lot. We were talking about patent. I was talking about patent and the VA and transitional youth housing, as well as working with the school district. And uh, you have to. The city just received a $35 million grant because of Project Home Key, if you guys remember, and this transitional center they want to build on G Street, which is great, right? This is what we want. But as I said, we have to make sure all the parts are moving at the same time. And that's going to be a vital component, because 140 beds isn't going to solve the problem with 3,000 homeless, but not everybody is meant for that type of housing. So yes, we need to be looking at every avenue possible at all times and leave no stone unturned. And that's something that I don't see in the current council member. I didn't hear it from the other candidate, because this is not homelessness 30 years ago. This whole situation has shifted entirely on the makeup and the populations. And we can't, as I said, have that one size fits all. So be prepared for a lot of different conversations. Like in the 7th ward, my focus as far as, where we would play into homelessness is really looking at the college students that are living in our ward in cars. They park on the streets. Looking at the working homeless, who are people who are one paycheck away, or people who have already been priced out of their place and they're living vouchers, or they're living in their cars or with other family members, and trying to find a way to build that housing in for them. Because it's like I said, the people who are drug addicted and mentally ill, you're not going to put them in a neighborhood and make it successful for them, and you're not going to make it successful for the community. So I don't want to force that, and I don't believe in that. So that's what I'm talking about. Comprehensive, multifaceted, a lot of different directions, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. If you ever see a singular line to the what do you call it, to the solution of homelessness, it's because they're not talking about everybody involved. So very good. Thank you, guys. Highland and 40th specific plan. Yes, yes, yes. Now, one of the biggest questions attached to what I want to do, and I'll explain it real quick, was how were we going to get everybody involved in this? So a specific plan, as attached, in conjunction with us developing the general plan, really looks at a specific piece of the city. And for me, in this ward, it is 40th Street and it is Highland. And then coming soon, once we get the 2 main corridors, it would be East Street. And what I'm looking at, then I've had this discussion a couple years ago with Fred Charette, is that what you do is you design the specific outlook of development, economic development for that one area, and you lay it out to where anything that comes or goes within this plot and plan has to be followed through to these to different, whatever specifications, the aesthetics, the type of businesses, or the patrol, whatever it is, whatever we're going to do specifically for this area. And you guys are like, that sounds great and that's awesome, but how do you get everybody involved? Well, look, right, we're on the north end of Highland. Right across the street is the second ward. That's Sandra Ibarra's area. And she's talked a lot about the commercial corridors. Going down Highland after we pass Del Rosa, that's Fred Charette. There's the fourth ward. If you go down and you pass over the 210, that's the sixth ward. There are 4 council members that touch Highland Avenue's commercial corridor. Hey guys, there's the majority right there. What council member doesn't want to drive economic development and drive it on the largest one of the largest commercial corridors that passes through 4 other wards? So that's what I'm saying. It's thinking in that collaborative mindset. When we look at 40th Street, we're kind of right there. We've got the 7th ward on the south side. Here again, Fred plays into the 4th ward. Then you go down and you hit, I believe it crosses over into the 5th ward. So there's 3 of us, and I can't imagine having 3 council members and at least not one other wanting to get behind us. This is something when I was running for mayor, if you guys remember the video, I talked about a Mount Vernon specific plan, because that's something that runs through the 6th ward, the 3rd ward, the 2nd ward, and the 1st ward. So this is that idea. We are one city. Even though we have our specific wards, there is really a greatness to it that we can take care of everything in a collective mindset. Why wouldn't you, if you could help 4 wards out by paving Highland Avenue, why wouldn't we? If we could do the same thing with Baseline, with Mount Vernon, these are the things that we need to be thinking about as a whole. So I think these plans, it's not just a 7th ward fix. It's a community fix, because you guys, a lot of you talk about how you remember coming and going shopping with your families on Highland Avenue and going down to Baseline, and we can look at what that looks like. So those were, the animal shelter. Okay, let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. Sorry, you guys. So, okay, let's talk. Okay, I don't see any I see your comments, great comments. So I was asked about the animal shelter and where I am with that. So as you guys remember, we fought very hard 5 years ago from our animal shelter being outsourced. And that was a big deal, a very, very big deal for us. But we were also in a position where the budget was tight. Now, getting the police department out of the business of the animal shelter was critical, because here again, right, very critical of how it was being operated. It was awful, just awful. So then we get finally a director. And we're not going to get in. I don't personally know her. I've met Chris Watson a couple times. Nice lady to me. But here's what we need to look at is how much attention does really, and not a handful of community members, but really are they getting from the city? Does Chris Watson, which she's brought millions and millions of dollars into the animal shelter, but what kind of attention are we giving to the animal shelter? Now, they've approved a plan for $60 million investment. I sat in the planning meeting for this. So how can we now be mad that there hasn't been an investment? We're putting more money into an animal shelter than we are into homelessness. My feeling is we gotta let a lot of these things start working itself to where we want it to be. and give it attention. Right now, you know, with homelessness, infrastructure, housing, economic development, jobs, it's not the highest priority, and I get that. I know for some it is. And it's a great thing that, and this is why, you know, everybody's in a different place in their life where they can focus on different areas. If that's your focus, work on it, but be constructive, not destructive. Because right now there's a lot of, you know, destructive stuff. Like, man, we fought to keep this. And now people are talking about outsourcing it because they don't like the director. I can't get behind that, and I'm not going to, you guys. I don't support, and I didn't support bringing in other cities' animals because we don't have the capacity to take care of them. So we need to build for ours. But other things too is, as a council person, you know, being extremely vocal on the fact that the community has to have its own portion of the responsibility on the amount of pets we're putting into the shelters, from overbreeding, from not fixing our animals, not taking care of them. Like, you guys, the city has an animal shelter because people's dogs get out and go other places. We as a community, they're not breeding dogs there. We are oversaturating their ability to take care of these animals at the taxpayer's expense. So there's so much more of this conversation, but it is an issue. It's something that we definitely have to keep eyes on. Look, when I used to do the hiring for the animal shelters, spending the time there, and I used to foster the pets. Yeah, I love it. I have my own dogs, and I would, you know, they're my kids, and I would die for them. So I understand the love that people have for the animals. But behind that love, we got to bring logic. And behind logic, we follow it with public policy, because that's really how we're going to get where we want to be together. So I hope that, guys, you know, answers your questions, and I appreciate it. I love the follow-up. I'll definitely, you know, if there are questions like this again, I'll do it at the next forum if you guys want to know. We are going to have a forum on February 8th at Ecclesia Church. It's supposed to be streamed on KVCR channel 3, and I will be live streaming as well so that you can you know, watch here if you need to. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a really great night and a happy Sunday tomorrow. And then please feel free to comment, questions, whatever. And thanks, San Bernardino. Don't forget to vote Dr. Treasurer Ortiz for the 7th Ward, and please share this. Okay.